When was the last time Oprah actually spent time hanging out with a working class person in America? She's on her Montecito estate with one of the most beautiful mansions known to man. And that is why she did not follow up with Kamala Harris in response to that stupid gun question with, well, you're on camera saying that you favor mandatory gun buybacks. So how would that work? The Oprah enthusiasm worked when it was genuine.
Shortly after the Oscars, a 3.9 magnitude earthquake rocked LA. The tremors were so powerful, Oprah's ass is still moving. Why would you laugh at that? That's fat shamers.
For decades, she was the undisputed queen of hearts, an untouchable icon whose couch confessions and book club pics shaped a generation. We thought we knew her, believed in her, and hung on every word. But recently, that meticulously crafted image has begun to crack, revealing a stark truth that has left many viewers stunned. Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly, two of media's sharpest voices, just did what many thought impossible. They took Oprah Winfrey's crown, tossed it into a blender, and hit expose. What did they reveal about the high priestess of privilege? Let's just say the empire has cracks that are too big to ignore.
When she first hit the scene in like the 1980s and she was fresh out of Chicago, she was in Chicago for the launch of her national talk show. She was something electric and interesting and authentic, you know? I miss fat Oprah. She was just genuine. Now this thin Ozempic Oprah has lost, along with the pounds, her heart, her sense of authenticity. And what we're getting these days is this cleansed elite billionaire version who wants to scrub the record of facts.
It's true, the Harris interview did feel like a very special episode of Oprah, but instead of everybody getting a new car, everybody got an aneurysm.
We had a week of women getting up there and trying to get us to feel sorry for them. To Oprah, literally one of the richest people, forget women, one of the richest people on earth, and talk about, in part, the misogyny and racism she's faced from the country that made her a 2.6 billionaire.
When Oprah first burst onto the scene in the 1980s, fresh out of Chicago, she was an electric force, brimming with an authenticity that felt rare and genuine. People remember a different Oprah then, a fat Oprah, as some have controversially called her, but crucially, a real Oprah. Yet that raw, relatable persona has seemingly vanished. The Oprah we see now, particularly the thin Ozempic Oprah, appears to have shed not just pounds, but also her heart and her very sense of authenticity. This transformation has given way to a cleansed, elite billionaire who seems intent on scrubbing the record of inconvenient facts. Just look at the Kamala Harris interview, which felt less like a probing journalistic exchange and more like a very special episode of The Oprah Show, where instead of new cars, everyone got an aneurysm from the sheer lack of follow-up on critical questions like mandatory gun buybacks. The genuine enthusiasm she once inspired has evaporated, leaving behind a carefully curated illusion.
5 words, Oprah's list of favorite things. So Oprah released her annual list of favorite things, and as usual, there are lots of expensive stuff. $1,000 pizza oven, $590 drip coffee maker, $80 of luxury salt. Sadly, no proposal from Stedman. Kat, do you think she went over this first to make sure it wasn't too extravagant?
You're missing the best one.
What?
Okay, it is a little journal, and it's called I'm Dead, Now What? Important information on my belongings, business affairs, and wishes. Hand this to someone at Christmas, I dare you.
But Oprah's an icon who, unlike traditional politicians, could match a wild card like Donald Trump. And if she won, she could give everyone a free car. And how different is that really from most Democrats?
Perhaps nothing illustrates this growing disconnect more starkly than her own words. Oprah Winfrey once stood before a room full of billionaires and declared with a straight face that being rich is hard. Somehow, no one laughed her off the stage. This single statement alone should have earned her a Lifetime Comedy Award. Here we are again, witnessing the high priestess of privilege, chalice encrusted with diamonds, preaching humility to the peasants, as if she were one of them. For decades, she sold self-help fairy tales wrapped in gold leaf, and you'd think by now she would have retired to her Mount Olympus of curated authenticity. But no, Oprah's still here, and her latest antics have managed to irritate both Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly into a tag team takedown, wielding sarcasm and precision like a wrecking ball dipped in pure acid. The notion that she's endured the same struggles as ordinary people feels almost insulting given her opulent reality.
Her schoolgirl affectations and body movements, like, okay, ready? Here it is, like, okay. She raises herself off her chair. Like, I'm just really excited. I'm really excited about this. Okay.
You're so right.
Okay.
Oh, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something you haven't heard yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to blow your mind.
Okay. Right, like that.
Right.
So we have got to talk about the failure of the celebrity. Oprah Winfrey. You have no power. You do not have any control over this electorate. Neither do you, J-Lo. Let's take a look at Oprah's final closing message on the campaign trail.
We don't get to sit this one out. If we don't show up tomorrow, it is entirely possible that we will not have the opportunity to ever cast a ballot again. We are voting to save ourselves from this precipice of danger.
Then there's the annual ritual, Oprah's list of favorite things. This year, it was a showcase of absurdity. A $1,000 pizza oven, a $590 drip coffee maker, and $80 worth of luxury salt. This is the woman who used to give away cars. Now she's offering existential crises wrapped in branding deals. Megyn Kelly, armed with her signature "I'm over this squint" and years of journalistic trauma, skewered the Empress of Empathy with surgical precision. You could almost feel the Botox freeze across Hollywood as Kelly called out the staggering hypocrisy. Oprah has officially crossed into the sacred realm of unintentional self-parody, peddling unobtainable luxuries as aspirational. Meanwhile, Gutfeld, never one for a scalpel, came in with a verbal sledgehammer, displaying the subtlety of a professional wrestling promo. He couldn't believe the same woman who built an empire on crying on a couch now wants to lecture the struggling middle class on why they should feel grateful for their suffering. The notion that these items are favorites for the average person is a joke that's simply not funny. Oprah has long positioned herself as a powerful political force, capable of swaying elections and shaping public discourse. We've seen her on the campaign trail declaring, "We don't get to sit this one out. If we don't show up tomorrow, it is entirely possible that we will not have the opportunity to ever cast a ballot again. We are voting to save ourselves from this precipice of danger." Yet her philanthropy, her help, always seems to come with a plug. Oprah doesn't just give, she brands. She doesn't merely support causes, she monetizes them. Every tragedy she visits becomes a carefully lit PR campaign. Critics argue she's not solving problems, but simply collecting content. Gutfeld dissected this like a fisherman filleting a fish, joking that Oprah's idea of outreach is flying first class to a disaster zone, then charging for the inspirational audiobook afterward. The whole thing reeks of Hollywood sanctimony. Megyn Kelly obliterated the illusion, pointing out that Oprah's activism has all the depth of a Hallmark card. She stands for hope and change in the same way air stands for breathing. It's technically there, but it's not doing anything revolutionary. She's the queen of safe rebellion, a protester in pearls, and that's why many, including those who once idolized her, now see her messages as spoon-fed propaganda rather than genuine reporting. Even her much-touted Maui wildfire efforts with The Rock were quickly discarded when they didn't generate the desired results, swiftly replaced by more palatable discussions about luxury slippers.
Yeah.
I looked at this list, and you know what wasn't on there? Anything about Maui, right? At one point in time, she and The Rock made that video to try to help out everybody who was hurt by the fire. And then that was just quickly discarded. She's like, okay, that didn't work. Who wants slippers? You want slippers. You get a pair of slippers. You're all getting slippers.
Do you think too much?
I used to love Oprah, like most of us who grew up when we did. And only now did I realize I've been getting spoon-fed propaganda from this woman for years. I always took her little setup packages as gospel. before I was a reporter, I never even thought to question whether Oprah might be intentionally misleading me. Then last night, the dawn came and I was like, oh my God, she is not a reporter. She's a propagandist. She's trying to shove messaging down my throat of whatever she believes, not what's real.
Adding to the growing list of contradictions is Oprah's incessant obsession with dieting, rebirth, and reinvention, as if she's a phoenix made of gluten. Every few years, she announces a new spiritual awakening, often accompanied by a line of supplements and a 3-part documentary. And every time, it's the same narrative. She found herself again somewhere between a scenic retreat in Maui and a deal with Weight Watchers. Gutfeld didn't hesitate to call this out, joking that Oprah's entire career is a never-ending reboot of her own personality. One minute she's a weight loss warrior, the next a spiritual guru, then suddenly hosting roundtables on racial healing with the subtlety of a fortune cookie. She reinvents herself more often than most people change Wi-Fi passwords. Yet through all of this, she insists she's relatable, as if the average American has the luxury of hitting pause on their soul-searching journey because their private chef called in sick. Her version of roughing it probably includes room service delays. Megyn Kelly ripped this facade wide open, slicing through the fluff like a hot knife through branded vegan butter, reminding everyone that Oprah's world is not ours. Her obstacles are curated, her pain platformed, and her struggles edited for prime time and softened with piano music. The recent admission of using medication for weight loss after years of promoting Weight Watchers points only further underscored the deep chasm between her public message and private reality.
Tyrus, so you got salt, you got cheese, you got pizza.
Ray, I'm going to stop you there.
Yes.
I treat this like the list I get from my kids. They send me emails because they know when I laugh in their face, it hurts. Anyone who wants a $1,000 pizza oven, you're going to get what Kat picked out. Like, that's the greatest gift you can give somebody because you can't return it. Because returning it, oh, you think you're immortal? You think you're better than us? Like, get your affairs in order. That's the great, you stole the show. They wanted me to talk about a dog towel. Towel's a towel. Great job. That's the best gift ever. And Oprah has never read this, just like I don't read the list from my kids send me.
The final, brutal truth is that Oprah has become more brand than human. There's a legal team for her image and an entire crew dedicated to filtering the lighting on her life. Authenticity for Oprah is a multi-million-dollar production with 5 camera angles and a fragrance line. Her schoolgirl affectations and body movements, like raising herself off her chair with an exaggerated, "I'm just really excited about this," are all meticulously rehearsed performance art. Gutfeld had a field day, tearing into her like she just endorsed kale-flavored air, pointing out that the woman who once claimed to be just a girl from Mississippi now lives in a mansion that likely needs a Sherpa guide to get from the kitchen to the indoor spa. You simply can't preach simplicity when your backyard has a vineyard and a team of gardeners named after Greek gods. The sheer audacity of her latest stunt, a humanitarian documentary where she journeys into the world of the downtrodden armed with a camera crew, makeup team, and more lighting than a Marvel movie, is uniquely tone deaf. Standing in front of a homeless shelter while wearing a $5,000 coat, discussing the human condition like it's a design trend, epitomizes the profound disconnect. Megyn Kelly didn't blink, tearing into Oprah's emotional exploitation like it was a bad script. She literally produced sadness, packaging grief, desperation, and suffering with dramatic scores, and selling it as awareness. It wasn't awareness, it was aestheticized despair, and Oprah was the star.
Oprah didn't help by sort of saying it's cheating. What do you mean it's cheating? It's a drug that helps people control their appetite. How is that cheating? So she was probably on the wrong side of things when she was saying that. And now I think she was sort of forced to admit, because as you say, it's obvious. Somebody like Oprah who's constantly up and down with the weight and hasn't been on the skinnier side for a long time. And then suddenly, after this miracle drug comes out, like, we know. But she's still a spokesperson for Weight Watchers, and I guess she's going to still tell us that the point system is really what's behind the weight loss.
Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly didn't unleash this brutal takedown out of spite, but seemingly from sheer exasperation. Watching Oprah continue to play the role of Mother Earth while cashing checks from corporate heaven feels like watching a movie that stubbornly refuses to end, long after the plot wore out. Her brilliance lies in effortlessly masquerading as a beacon of enlightenment while lounging in marble tubs big enough to house a small nation. She doesn't walk, she glides through through crises, trailing behind a camera crew and monogrammed herbal mist. Her compassion always pre-scheduled, her empathy perfectly lit from stage left. The woman could host a symposium on struggle from her infinity pool and still claim to feel your pain. Kelly's critique wasn't just a hit, it was a public unmasking, exposing an empire of faux inspiration that has become a shrine to image management. Greg, meanwhile, bulldozed the velvet facade with enough punchlines to make even the lighting crew wince. The contrast is staggering. One woman marketing resilience from a chaise lounge while the rest of us dodge bills and potholes. Yet somehow, we're expected to take notes. The self-help sermons ring hollow when they echo from a climate-controlled wine cellar. It's not motivation, it's melodrama in designer shoes. And the cruelest irony, Oprah still believes she's relatable, even though her nearest neighbor is a hedge fund. This is the gospel according to Wealth, a masterclass in selling the illusion of empowerment, all tone and no content, all sparkle and no substance. The question that remains is, how long will we keep buying it?